I'm coming at you live on tape from Sydney, Ohio. And today's movie is the horror classic from 2001, Slashers, which is not really a classic, though it is horror and it's called Slashers. Only it has dollar signs where the S's are. If you've seen this movie, you might like it, and if you didn't, well, I'm in your group then. Starts out with Japanese guy introducing us to the Japanese game show Slashers in Japanese. And then we get the intro, which is in Japanese. It's a Japanese game show, which finally turns to English when we get introduced to the host, Miho, who reminds us of the rules of Slashers. There are no rules. And we see this is the all-American episode of this Canadian horror movie. And we get introduced to the American contestants of Devon, who's a ex-Marine and boxer. Michael, who's a computer programmer. At least that's what he claims. Rebecca, who's a fitness instructor, and she's won a bunch of fitness things. Rick, who's a doorman at a nightclub in Detroit, yet is not black, and there are a bunch of black people in Detroit. He looks kind of mixed race, maybe Italian. I'm not real sure. Megan, who's our lead, who is completely unsure of herself, who is a 20-year-old lost law and political science major. And finally, Brenda, who's a model and aspiring actress. And then we get to introduced to our slashers, who are the people going after these people to kill them. Of Chainsaw Charlie, the rookie Preacher Man, and everyone's favorite Dr. Ripper, who has these big cut things in his hand. They look like almost like hedge clippers, but made for the human head. I don't know what a surgeon would use those for, but I'm sure we could find a reason. Now the contestants can use anything in the slasher zone to go up against the slashers. What they cannot use is the slashers. Now, we also introduced to our roving cameraman Hideo, was told not to let any contestant do Harry Carey in the last 10 minutes. That is important. Keep that in mind. And then they go into the slash zone, and all of them immediately get in this building but Megan, and she decides to give a political speech on how the show is wrong and her death is on the hands of the people watching. At which point, Dr. Ripper comes up behind her and cuts her shirt off. So we don't get to see anything yet. When we do later on, it's in night vision and it's not a good shot. So there's no actual good nudity in this movie. And then Preacher Man comes to kill her, and she runs away crying and whining into the building with the people without a shirt on. Get used to her crying and whining. This is what she does throughout the whole movie, though she is our main character. Devon gives her his shirt and says they need to make weapons. At which they do, at which point Brenda takes her shirt off, though she is wearing a bra, and says, "What's her odds now?" And we say, and Devon says it's better. Michael starts being a wise ass which we will learn more from Michael later. Michael is a very entertaining character. He is who I was rooting for. That or Rebecca, though Rebecca dies first, and we will get to Rebecca later. Devon leaves on his own, and then the slashers attack the building. It's Chainsaw Charlie and Preacher Man. A door opens up. Brenda, Rick, and Michael get out. And then the door closes for Rebecca and Megan, who knock down Preacher Man and get out through the back door, I think it is, because they're backdoor women. Yes, I said it. And they get away from Chainsaw Charlie. Chainsaw Charlie is very entertaining in this movie, by the way. And they go to the clown room, revealing that they both hate clowns. I don't get this hate with clowns. I love clowns. Clowns are very entertaining. Especially when clowns are especially Cirque du Soleil clowns, because they're not funny, they're just sad. At which point we get Rebecca's story that even though she's physically fit and has won all these fitness competitions, she has been diagnosed with MS, and this is her first stop on her tour of doing everything she's ever wanted to do. Then the door opens that was otherwise locked, and they move on. And Chainsaw Charlie catches up with them again, but he has no fuel for his chainsaw. This seems not to happen to Leatherface. He seems to always have a fuel chainsaw. Maybe he should take some lessons from Leatherface. At which point they get to an area again where the door seems to be locked and they're trying to find a trick door. At which point Dr. Ripper comes in and cuts Megan's top off again. There seems to be a pattern here with Dr. Ripper. And Chainsaw Charlie breaks through a wall and grabs Rebecca and cuts her bottom off, and all her guts spill out. So you can clearly see in this segment that Rebecca does not have a belly button when the fake bottom is there. And then Dr. Ripper leaves Megan in a dark room. This is when we get the night vision, and we see Megan's tits, but they're night vision. At which point Megan steals Rebecca's top and continues to lie there, crying and whining. So Chainsaw Charlie comes in, threatening to kill her, at which point she bites his tongue and gets away, meeting up with Devon, who's hiding out. And then they meet up with Dr. Ripper, but not before Devon tells his story that he was a boxer who joined the Marines and got a concussion in a war. I have no idea which war Devon got a concussion in, because he's only 29, and we didn't go to war in the 90s. Bill Clinton never sent troops out in the 90s. We bombed a couple places, but Bill Clinton never sent physical troops anywhere in the 90s. So the last war America was in before 2001 would have been Desert Storm, and he would have been 18 for that war. If he was 29 in 2001, that would have made him 18 in 1990 for Desert Storm. And he wouldn't have had much of a box. He would have been an amateur boxer before then. And he wouldn't have, it would have been before he made any real money, but it would have been before he made any money. So I have no idea which war he got this concussion in. Maybe he was just playing war with some kids. I don't know. But that's his backstory. We're at 11 minutes and I'm not even halfway through this freaking movie. So then they meet up with the rest of the gang. And I guess I am halfway through the movie at least. And Devon reveals to them that the little building thing they're hiding in is going up against a wall. So Devon heads off on his own, and the rest of the gang head off by themselves with Hideo with them. And the rest of the gang is Rick, Michael, Brenda, and Megan. Because remember, Rebecca's dead. And they go in this room full of losers pictures on the wall. And then Brenda gets cut by Dr. Ripper, who cuts her top off and cuts her face. Because at this point, Rick, we find out, was dared to come on the show. And Michael's making fun of him because of that. We still haven't found out Michael's reason, but we do find that out later. We never find out Brenda's reason for coming on the show, other than she's seeking fortune and glory. She is the only person in this thing. We do not find out her reason. So I'm just going to make up a reason for Brenda and say Brenda came on the show to show off her tits and show off her buns and make Miho jealous because Miho was her college roommate. That's Brenda's reason for coming on the show. Anyways, so Dr. Ripper cuts up Brenda's face and he gives Michael's shirt to her. And then Michael leads them onto the Bridge of Death, which is a narrow bridge that the door shuts behind them, and then Chainsaw Charlie comes out to face them, blocking the door, and on either side of the bridge is spikes down below. At which point Rick says he's going to take Chainsaw Charlie out, throw them both on the spikes, him and Rick. And then it goes to commercial, and during commercial you can't move. Chainsaw Charlie goes, "You're bluffing." Then he realizes Rick isn't bluffing, and Chainsaw Charlie breaks character. He's no longer a Southerner. He is like, "Listen, man, I got a wife and kids. I don't want to die. So I'm just going to let you pass. I'm just going to let you pass, man. I'll go after the others." Rick initially agrees. Then when the commercial's over, he goes after Chainsaw Charlie and knocks them both over the bridge. So Rick and Chainsaw Charlie are dead. Then Michael leads them into the Hall of Mirrors, at which point Brenda takes a look at her face and is crying and is staring at a mirror, at which point Dr. Ripper comes up behind her and cuts her head off with the operating tool. By the operating tool, I mean the big hedge clipper thing. Still don't know what that's used for operating, but I'm sure as a doctor we can figure it out. Maybe cutting the belly open to rip out organs. I mean, that would work. But then Michael and Megan go into the love room, and Michael's like, "Let's have sex," and Megan's like, "No, I'm not gonna have sex on national TV." So Michael's like, "Fine, I'm just gonna rape your ass." Till Devon comes in and breaks up the rape. We all wanted to see the rape, but stupid Devon had to come in and break up the rape. So Michael goes off on his own, screams bloody murder like he's being killed, and then Devon finds a way into the room because the door opened. Megan gets shut out, and he goes up against Dr. Ripper in probably the best fight of the movie. And Devon kills Dr. Ripper, but then Michael kills Devon. And down to Megan and Michael. Michael says he's sorry, and he was just scared. Now they can split the money. And Megan knees Michael in the crotch and runs away. And this is where we find out Michael's reasonings for coming on the show when he's chasing Megan. We find out he's not some wimpy computer programmer. He's the Bible doll killer. Someone who's had 26 victims of women. A serial killer. And this was going to be his grand finale. Now he's got 27 victims counting Devon. And counting Megan, it'll be 28. And he catches up with her, and then it goes to commercial break, and they can't move. And he admits his crimes to Megan during commercial break. Megan says they're not on the air, so they can use the tape. Well, he says, I'm still gonna kill you. So they come back from commercial. Dale gets in Michael's way. So Michael says, I can't catch her now. I'm gonna go to jail. So I'm just gonna commit Harry-Carry, and cuts his own head off with Dr. Ripper's surgical tool. At which point Megan wins. She agrees to give Hideo some of the money. And she wins $18 million because there's $2 million for every slasher killed, and started 12. And that is the end of slashers. Well, not quite. You should stay tuned at the end of the credits and see the people who sponsor the slasher show. The 3 cigarette companies that sponsor the slasher show: Black Tar Cigarettes, Coffin Nails, and what was the other one? I don't remember the other one, but there's another one too. It's another one that's funny as hell. Now, this show, if it was made, if the Slash show was made in reality, I would watch it. This movie is okay to laugh at because it's kind of dumb and silly, and it's not a good movie. It's kind of bad. None of the acting is really good. I mean, the slashers are good in it, meaning Chainsaw Charlie, Preacher Man, and Dr. Ripper. They're all good in it. Devon is good in it. Rick is good in it. Rebecca is good in it. Michael is just fucking over the top once he goes crazy. Miho's good in it. Hideo plays both the announcer and the cameraman, and he does a good job playing both. But none of the other actors are good in it. And Megan just whines and cries the whole time, so you're really not behind her. Once Michael reveals himself as a serial killer, you're still kind of rooting for Michael because you're tired of Megan. At first, you're rooting for Devon because you're like, oh, Devon's cool. We like Devon. And then he dies, and it's Michael and Megan, and you're like, oh, we're rooting for Michael because you're just tired of Megan's shit. But that is slashers. What do I rate this movie? I don't know. Don't bother seeing it unless you want a good laugh. Now it's what we all came to see. The song. Now I haven't practiced for a couple days, so it's probably going to be bad. If I can get the notebook to stay up. They've all come for their own reasons. Now they're going to receive a beating in this Japanese game show where it doesn't matter what you know, just how long you can go before they find you and end your suffering. Slashers, all about the way they send you out. Slashers, do they rip out your intestines or cut off your head? Remove a limb or two or slice you up in bed? Slashers, their contestants come here from miles around. Just the thing with doing this live. Hard turn pages. Just to compete in old Slasher Town. They're the best of the best, and the slashers will soon open their breast and let the blood pour out. Slashers, all about the way you send them out. Slashers, Do you rip out their intestines or cut off their head? Remove a limb or two or slice them up in bed? Slashers, slashers. So let's meet our slashers for this week. We've got Chainsaw Charlie, the man to beat. Preacher Man, who will make you pay for your sins. And finally, Dr. Ripper, who believes in killing with a grin. Slashers, slashers, all about the way you send them out. Slashers, slashers, do you rip out their intestine or cut off their head? Remove a limb or two or slice them up in bed? Slashers, slashers. So that's the song. This is a long ass video. Next week is the Matthew McConaughey classic, Tiptoes, about dwarves. No, Matthew McConaughey is not a dwarf in it, but Gary Oldman is. So tune in for that.